All right, welcome to week 6 of the Start Sit Show, brought to you by Dynasty Football Digest and the IDP guys. We are here taking your questions, your lineup queries, and see if we can help you out, get your win that week. I am Dan Freeman. I am an editor for Dynasty Football Digest. You can find me on the Twitters at @TheDannyFresh. I'm joined by two of the best. Fellas, why don't you introduce yourselves, what you do with the sites, and where people can find you on the interwebs. Hollywood, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I write for IDP guys, do IDP and IDP Devi. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Reddit, Facebook. I'm basically everywhere.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm Steve. I'm from Flavorize This on Twitter. I am at the DFD Dynasty Football Digest site. I do weekly redraft rankings. I do articles. I can do DFS, talk any kind of offensive game that you guys want to talk about. So bring your questions. We're here for you.
Right on. So I'm excited for this week. I feel like we're going to learn a lot about some teams this week, I think things are going to shake out. So I wanted to throw this question out before we start taking comments, but folks, watch you get your questions in. We will get them answered for you. But I feel like the sort of discussion of the Dynasty community this week, and I know we dropped, shout out to Boyd, dropped a article on this on Dynasty Football Digest this week, looking at who the Dynasty wide receiver 1 is right now. I think consensus coming in, we've had Michael Thomas at the top of the heap, maybe a little bit of Nuck noise, a little bit of Tyreek noise, but generally speaking, it was MT. With his injury, with Breeze's age, and with the breakouts we've seen from some of these young wide receivers early, who do you guys have sitting at top your wide receiver 1 for Dynasty, and how close is it?
Yeah.
I started out heavy.
Yeah. I mean, even there's guys I love, like Devante Adams. I don't think has peaked yet. He's got a good 12, 13 target a week guy. MT can go on about MT. DK Metcalf is starting to look legit, like the guy. He'll be like a top 3 guy for maybe the next 10 years. It's going to be, just one of those Julio guys where he just like breaks into these massive games every other game. It's just going to be fantastic. I don't know. I know that Hollywood probably likes, AJ Brown. That we saw last week how legit AJ Brown is. I mean, if Tannehill's looking pretty good too. I mean,
yeah,
he's starting to be one of the
Adam Gase bump.
Yeah, right.
Right.
He's starting to be an elite guy, though. I mean, he showed it last year, and going into this year, he's putting up some really big numbers with low interceptions. That's a good pairing that could go on for, I don't know, another 5 years if they wanted it to. But I mean, man, I can't. Damonte Adams, I think, is the number 1 guy right now for me. And then Metcalf and Lamb. I mean, Lamb is probably breaking into like the top 8, and he's just too young. I mean, he's there, and the talent's there. Dak's going to be there for a while. But
is he? Is he going to be there for a while? Do we know that?
That's what they say, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
We'll see how he works with Dalton and how that goes. I'm not really too high on Dalton, but Lamb's going to be there. I think it's too young. He's too young to annoy him. It's like 5 games in. It's just you can't be,
Right on. Hollywood, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. The Breeze thing, I think, kind of hurts Thomas. If you knew he was going to be there another 5 or 10 years, which he's not because he's older, I think Thomas kind of holds that spot. And I kind of have the same reservations with Devante Adams, because even though Rodgers is playing out of his mind this year, you're not really sure how much longer he's going to play either. So I do think those two are still the top. Deandre Hopkins, I know he's down there with Kyler Murray. He's special and all, but he's kind of slid down the rankings quite a bit for me. And then, like he said, the young guys, DK Metcalf and AJ Brown, I think those two are the future, along with like CD Lamb and those guys. So I think we're fixing to go through a change.
Ridley too.
Yeah, I think we're fixing to go through a definite change. The Julios are sliding and these young guys are coming in. It's just a matter of how. I think the biggest thing is going to be how the quarterbacks match up with these receivers.
Sure.
If they have a young arm that can sling it and is going to be there for a while, then those are the guys, like Tannehill and Russell. Because I think Russell Wilson's got another good 5 years. So I like that with DK. So I think if you get the quarterback receiver matched up, then those guys will. I think they're going to push towards the top.
All right. Let me get. I want to get to some of these questions. We'll pick this up because I have some further thoughts, but I want to get these guys' questions answered first here. So Rochevier, I hope I'm saying your name right. He's got Mike Davis and Todd Gurley starting at running back. Does he start Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, or Philip Lindsay at the flex? Full point PPR in a 12 team. Ingram is out. So I'm sorry, Gordon. Excuse me. Gordon is out when we're considering Lindsay.
Yeah, let me pull up my rankings real quick. I like what Lindsay's bringing. I think it's going to be a big day for Lindsay for sure. I mean, Drake, when is he going to get his? I mean, every week it's like Drake. This is a Drake week. This is a Drake week, and we see it on Twitter every single everybody's blowing up. But then he has like 30-yard games, 50-yard games, and I don't know if there's something wrong with him. And then Chase always gets a touchdown, seems like. So, I mean, I feel like Chase is a pretty safe play if you're not feeling that, Lindsay could break through on the Denver defense, on the New England defense.
Yeah, I was saying Pat's defense. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. I'm just gonna say Lindsay just because I think he's gonna get the most touches of probably those three guys. And that's going to give him. He's got some big breakout potential this week. I think.
It's a nice floor.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to go with him.
Any different take there, or you concur?
No, I'm with him this morning. It looks like we're in sync.
Right on. All right. This is one of my more favorite questions. So, should I start Zach Ertz or Tanyan, the Green Bay breakout tight end?
I'm going Tanyan. He's hot right now.
Yeah, he's pretty hot. I mean, I feel like Ertz, they don't have a lot going on in Philadelphia right now, but that against the Baltimore defense, man, I don't know. You just don't know which way that's going to go.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like Tanyan, that game's going to be a shootout, and Tanyan's going to get a ton of looks, some good yardage. I think Tanyan's a great way.
Yep.
I have them both right next to each other. Let's ride the hot hand. Let him let you down, I think, before you move off Tanyan. Yeah. So I agree, but I that's a real coin flip in my mind, because Ertz they are short on weapons. Goddard's out. Ertz is going to get fed. So, all right, let's get into the IDP side here. Needing two. This is a familiar question here. Miles Jack, Shin, or Keanu Neal?
Miles Jack's always on that list. Yeah. I don't know if he's a streaming guy for people or what, but he's always one of those questions.
I have a sneaky suspicion this is the same user who asked this a couple weeks ago, because I think these are the three names together. I could be wrong.
You're definitely starting Chin for sure.
In that matchup, yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely starting him. Jack has been outplaying Schobert down there a little bit. So I think I would go Miles Jack and Jeremy Chin.
All right. So back to the Dynasty wide receiver one question. So talking about quarterbacks lining up and things like that. That's why. Oh man, I just totally blanked on what point I was going to make. Sorry. That's what I was gonna. So I'm gonna advocate here for Michael Thomas a little bit, right? Because he was consensus. We know what he can do. We saw him do it with Breeze and with Teddy Bridgewater last season. He didn't skip a beat with Bridgewater. Are we absolutely sure if Jameis Winston, for example, is their starting quarterback, who carries all of the downside he carries as a QB, but Mike Evans didn't seem to have a problem putting up huge numbers every year. Godwin was coming on. I mean, if you had a situation where it was Winston or anyone of that level, when you have a player like Thomas and really no other challenger other than Kamara really for touches, that he can't just be as dominant.
I think he's going to be close. I mean, I just want to see who's the gunslinger back there when Breeze is gone. Because I just don't know how much longer Breeze has got. A couple years, maybe at the most, and that's wishful thinking.
The most, yeah.
Winston, he's proved he can sling it. The issue with him has been the turnovers. He's the 30-30 guy, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. That's not going to fly along in the NFL. You're going to get benched.
It's not going to win. It's not going to win.
If he can cut down and stay on the field and not turn the ball over, then I think, Thomas could do well with him because he's got a big arm. I mean, he could throw it. If not, then that's where my concern with him is. Who's going to be that guy that throws it to him after Breeze leaves if Winston's not the guy? But I kind of wonder, they brought Winston in and they've not done anything with him as far as cutting him or trading. So they got to see a little something in him to make him think he's the guy.
Well, of the guys on that list, then if you use that, it sort of narrows down real quick to being like a DK Metcalf conversation, right? Because he's the one guy paired with the elite quarterback in a super stable position at his peak, right? That really is the bump for Metcalf in that scenario.
What do you think about Devante Parker with Tua coming on? You got Tua, Devante Parker. Could that be an elite matchup for years to come if Tua is the real deal?
Yeah.
I mean, could be. That's a lot we got to see.
Yeah. Well, I think you could throw Burrow and what's his name? T. Higgins in there.
Higgins, yeah.
I mean, those guys you can throw in there. And then you got some receivers coming too, like Jalen Waddle next year, and
it's a big receiver class coming.
The receivers, I don't think it's all the receivers as to because you got so many good ones. I think it's going to be based on where they land and who's throwing them the ball.
And the big QB class. I know that we're going to see a lot of turnover soon. It's true. And the dynasty beat marches on.
How crazy would it be to see Jalen Waddle landing with the Chargers and Herbert?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Waddle destroyed yesterday too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, he looks so good.
I mean, you match up something like that. I think it kind of pushes both of those guys. Not saying that'll happen, but you put Waddle with Herbert, that boosts both of their values, and that's kind of what you're looking for.
Now we're getting to Debbie. All right. Jack in the Box is finishing his breakfast sandwich and wants to know at the linebacker position, he's got to start 2. What do we got here? I can't even say it. Okereke?
Okay.
Terrell Adams and Neville Hewitt.
Adams is a hot name. I think with Leonard out, you got to go Okereke, Bobby Okereke. Cashman come back this week for the Jets. I think they took him off the COVID list or IR, whatever it was. He was on IR, I think. So I don't know that Hewitt's your guy. Olakun, I'm going Okereke for sure, and I think I'm going to go with the new guy, Terrell Adams, next to Kazir White for the Chargers. I think that's where I go.
Right on. Let's see what we got here. All right. In a 1-point PPR, full point PPR, he needs 2 of these 3 names: Tyler Boyd, Slayton, or Debo. This is an interesting one. Steve, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I got Boyd and Slayton 26th and 27th for the week. I'm not sure what we'll see from the 49ers offense, we were talking to our pal Lanny about how the 49ers are always getting sacked 10% or more on first down and second down. And so I think that offense is in a little bit of trouble. I'm not sure I trust Debo over the other two guys right now. So I definitely go Slayton Boyd. I think, Slayton's got a good game, good matchups today for sure. And Boyd just always is like a constant producer. I like sliding him in.
Yeah, I think I agree with both those things. I love Debo. I feel like I'm always apologizing for Debo. I love him. I just need to see a game. I need to see him back for a real game where that offense is productive before I can slide him into lineup. So I would agree with those two.
Yep, same here. I'm agreeing.
Man. So outside of the wide receiver one, do you see any either clear cut? I mean, I think consensus here, we have Mahomes as our clear cut QB1 in Dynasty. Is there any counter argument there?
Not for another 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. So outside of that, are there any other positions where you feel like that conversation of who grabs it? Kelce is pretty darn dominant, but he is getting up there compared to the other tight ends. And it seems like, I really thought this was the year Kittle would overtake him. I do think Kittle's the better, tight end in football terms, but from fantasy perspective, do you think Kelce's going to relinquish that anytime soon with his age, or you think he's still your standalone there?
I mean, Kittle's just got to stay on the field. I mean, today he's got a long line of the last 5 games against the Rams. He's, he's got six. It's 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. It's ridiculous stats like that. He is a focal point of that 49ers offense. So, Kels is too. I think as long as Andy Reid's in Kansas City, Kels is gonna have a lot of work coming his way. But we see Hollywood Jonnu Smith coming up, and he might bump a couple guys here. He's definitely getting past Ertz. He's sniffing on the heels of Mark Andrews. He's
we're taking a break.
Yeah.
All good.
Yep. So I feel like, those guys are coming up, and we'll start seeing Gesicki, is playing slot a lot, and he's getting a lot of catches. So those guys, I think eventually might pass them, but it's just so hard. I go back and forth on a weekly basis. It's just Kittle, Kels. I like Kittle long term though. He'll surpass him in the next year or two for sure.
Well, I would think so. I would hope. I think the 49ers are gonna have some real questions at the QB spot, but this is a fun one. All right, I need 2. I think there's a couple of discussions in here to be had. Claypool, Juju, right? So we got 2 guys from the same. Mm-hmm. Slayton, Chenault, or Hollywood Brown.
Let's see. Slayton is a pretty safe play. I like what Chenault's bringing. I got Chenault over Boyd and Slayton. I got Chenault 25th.
Is Chark playing?
I think Chark is playing, but
he's going that high.
Yeah, Chenault he's been showing it the last few weeks. I think he's been top 15, 16 the last few weeks, and he's got a great matchup today. I like Chenault, and I know a lot of DFSers are playing Chenault this week too. I think that's a great play. Claypool, you kind of have to ride him, right? I got Claypool right in that same range as the other guys. He's 29th, and I got Juju 38th. So I like Claypool. Another one with a great matchup today. Hollywood, man, I've been waiting on Hollywood to do something. And I got him just below Claypool, and that's not a bad play, but I of those guys, I like Claypool, Slayton, Chenault. If I had to gun to my head, I'd go with the young guys, Claypool and Chenault, and ride those guys because they're the hot guys right now.
The funny part is they're all young guys.
Yeah.
It's funny. So a couple of things. So I want to dive further into the Hollywood conversation because it does bring up a topic I've been discussing, which is what we set our expectations on for young players to thrive. Because like even that the structure of that sentence, I keep waiting on Hollywood. Like Hollywood's had a pretty nice season, right? He just hasn't been dominant.
Yeah.
But if you project his numbers out, I mean, I'm doing this a little off memory here, but if you project his numbers out, he's going to have himself a nice little season. And he's a second-year player who didn't get a first full. So I think there's some. Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, if you looked at him like last year, you look at him and then you look at Decaf and you're like, these guys are just going to go. So he hasn't been matching. Like you see what DK has been doing, DK Metcalf's been doing this year. And you expected that leap, that same kind of leap from Hollywood, and you haven't seen that from Hollywood. And I just want him to have those big games. And I play a lot of DFS, and maybe that's just me being disappointed in him not producing when I put him in my lineups. But yeah, oh man,
yeah, he hasn't blown up really. I think with Hollywood. Well, let me answer this question first. So I just want to throw game theory out there. So this is one of those things where I'd look at what I thought I needed to win based on who I was playing. Because there's a scenario where if you think you've got the guy, right? You don't need a blow up spot. You just need to know your guys deliver. There's game theory that says play Claypool and Juju. Because one of those guys is going to eat. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So if you get an okay game out of one of them and a really good game out of another, and you feel solid with your lineup versus the guy you're playing, it's a little bit of an out of box strategy, but I could argue for it. And I'd say the same thing with like Chenault. It feels like a floor play, not a ceiling play. So this is one of those ones where like straight rankings don't work for me. It's a little bit of construct, right? Yeah. I think, gun to my head, I think you're right. I think you got it. Claypool to me is the must start of that list, which is wild to think that that's where we are now, right? But I'd probably go Claypool and Hollywood in giving me a mix of ceiling floor. But I really think that's a game theory question in my mind. So, welcome back.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
No, all good, man. All good. Okay. Well, you came back just in time. Here we go. Who should I start? Is it Darius Smith, questionable, or Khalil Mack?
Well, I think if he's questionable, that's not looking good. So I think you've got to go Mack, just from the health standpoint. Who does Chicago have today?
Chicago has. Sorry, 1 second. Don't they have? Why am I losing it myself?
Carolina.
They have Carolina.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I was thinking that, but I couldn't remember. I think you go with him. I know he's kind of been a disappointment here lately for fantasy owners, but he looked pretty good. I think it was last week, so I think he's getting it cranked up a little bit. That secondary is starting to tighten down, which is helping them out some. Yeah. If Smith plays, you may go with him because I think he's a little more consistent. But with him being questionable, I think you got to go with Mack.
So I have both guys on my IDP lineup as well. So this is one I deal with sometimes. Mack's an interesting one because a lot of times his impact on the game reduces his fantasy value. Right? Rickon Smith ends up getting a lot of those points, I think, because of how much accounting for Mack goes on. Do you see that, Hollywood?
Yeah, and I completely agree. And he's a boom bust guy, kind of. When he's on and dialed in, he can score with anybody in the league as far as fantasy because he's going to get those strip sack fumbles and stuff like that. But I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff he does that impacts the game that never scores points for fantasy owners.
Indeed. All right, here's an interesting one. Need to drop a player for a waiver pickup. Would you drop Murray or Abram? Who's better for the rest of the season? It's a little bit of a short-term question there, so it's a little out of pocket. Anybody got a strong take there?
I think you drop Abram. I mean, Murray's going to be plugged in the middle of that defense. I mean, if you're needing help at defensive, but I'm guessing this is a flex the way this is worded. You can play either or. So in that case, I think it's Murray. I think he gets the more opportunities to make tackles.
And this is the rest of the way is what we're talking about. I think what he's saying is, I don't know if it's a flex or not. He's just saying he's got a clear room because there's somebody he's got to pick up at another position, I assume.
Yeah.
So.
I still think I go Murray. I think he's a better long-term option for sure. Right.
So if you're it's a contention question. All right. Let's where am I here? All right. Our friend Kyle. What's up, guys? Who should I roll with from my last flex? What up, Kyle? His last flex. Keelan Cole, Swift, or Nikhil Harry in a PPR league.
Man. You know, I like Harry. I think that he gets a lot of short passes. And we kind of see this with Robbie Anderson too, that he just kind of racks up these little passes, and then they add up to kind of big yardage and big amount of receptions. So I like that. I don't trust Swift. You know, that I look at the Vegas kind of props a lot, and they're raising like APs over unders for this game, and it's almost to the level of like a Todd Gurley for this game. So wow. I'm not trusting Swift, and maybe he breaks for a touchdown, but I'm going with Harry to get the kind of consistency, the floor, the like 10, 11 points that that you would expect for like a flex.
All right, everybody listening carefully. I'm going to whisper this, okay? Swift week. Swift week. It's the Swift week, everybody. Mark that down. We'll see. I agree. I'm not. I get that you can't trust him, but I think it's Swift week.
Yeah, I'm kind of the safe floor with Harry. I get it, but I'm with you, Dan. I think you roll the dice this week on Swift. I think it's
the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, everything lines up. If it's now or never, I think so.
Yep. So let's get back to our dynasty first positions as we roll on down here. So any other points on tight end before I'm going to jump to running back, because I think running back's real confusing right now. Any tight end things they want to get in? All right, so let's pivot to running back here, as I almost knocked down the wall behind me. Where are you guys at with running back? I mean, I'm going to assume that CMC is still everybody's number one. That sure he got injured, but he's coming back. And does Mike Davis's performance affect that in any way? Because he's been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I know I left before, like last year. I left Mike Davis for dead. This is not something I expected from Mike Davis.
He's looked real good.
He's looked real good.
He's looked real good. Yeah.
He's got a revenge game against the Bears, who kind of discarded him for nothing. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think you can't replace a guy like CMC. I think Davis maybe works his way in a little bit in a kind of the same way that Murray does down in New Orleans. In this, or maybe like a Jamal Williams does, where he'll have his games and he'll pop off on some games where they're cranking down the other guys. But I think Mike Davis has probably earned himself a little extra, percentage of snaps, but I don't think he's going to be a long-term anything,
Yeah. We kind of touched this on IDP Nation last night. I think Mike Davis has done superb, and I think he's done good enough that it's scaring CMC owners right now, because if he comes back and they still give Davis a few touches here and there, they're going to be livid. They're going to be livid. I don't know what his contract situation is with him, so I would think if he's only signed through this year, then maybe you kind of have to bite the bullet a little bit, because he's going to steal some shares, I think. But maybe after that, he's parlayed this into maybe he gets a shot somewhere else with a team. Yeah. So overall, I don't think it kills McCaffrey's value. I don't think, because he's still going to be a workhorse. They're going to load him down. He's their star. So I do think he might steal a few away from him in the beginning till they get him back and get him back in shape or whatever. But I'm not too worried.
So it sounds like we're all. I agree with pretty much everything you guys just said. I would say that it may bring down CMC's ceiling, where essentially he almost lapped the field previously. Right. Now he'll just be clearly better, you know. But so then I think the conversation gets really interesting, because where are you going at 2? You wouldn't think it would be that big of a sigh to be like, who's 2? But yeah, it's real confusing now, right?
I think there's a little group there.
Yeah.
Yep.
There definitely is. I mean, Zeke for the rest of this season, because of what happened to Dak, you know, and I think like Zeke is just such a smooth runner, and probably it's funny. I mean, he's probably just underrated for what he does. He's just such an amazing runner, and his vision is just. I'm just blown away when I watch Zeke. And you know, you have guys like Aaron Jones and Henry who are going to be fighting for it. Maybe you see, oh man,
would you put Cook and Kamara in there?
Cook and Kamara. I mean, it's such a tight group right there.
Yeah,
that's hard. It's hard to. I mean,
and they're all kind of just a little bit different from the other too, just slightly to make it.
And where's Barkley in the mix? What's your risk tolerance for who might have been the best back in the league?
I've already traded Barkley in a few leagues.
Have you?
Yeah.
Just a long road back, you figure.
Yeah, and then it's just I don't know what the Giants are doing offensively, really. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones has just been horrible. Mm-hmm. If they could get some consistency, I think he can work his way back to being the number 2 back. But some of the offers I were getting was just too good to pass up. I got Calvin Ridley and first and a second for him in one league. So
you take that.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, you take that.
I mean, Zeke's in that offense, you know, and if they're gonna have, you know, 3 guys like that for a bit, then he's gonna get. I mean, you can't stuff the box against Zeke, and he's just gonna eat that up. I think he's the number 2 for sure.
I would really like to put Dalvin Cook there, but the injuries kind of scare me. Because he's smooth and fluid too, and it seems to be they run through him. So
he's so good.
The play calling's so bad in Minnesota right now. As long as Kubiak's there, it's
right. Yeah, but I'm not worried. The play calling or not, Cook eats, man. The issue really there is, and I would have said, you know, Madison Madison can play. Like Madison can play. And I'm a straight fan, but they gave Cook the deal, right? So that kind of locks him in place. So it really just becomes an injury thing there. But Cook is dynamic, man.
Yeah, he is.
But I agree. I mean, the only concerns I'd have with Zeke, I think I agree that it's Zeke. He does so many things well. Definitely, he's getting his miles up, you know, quicker than some. And we know that matters with running backs. The other is just, you know, what was the Dallas O-line that was the best in the league is, you know, not even a combination of injuries and other things, but it's not a sniff of what it was once before. So you're sort of betting on whether that gets back in place as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody else do you guys have any lineup things in your own personal lineups you're struggling with? Anything you guys are pondering?
What's your thoughts on Gerald Everett at tight end? I know we kind of touched tight ends, but I'm looking for a tight end now, so I need.
You know, for me, I like Everett when the Rams are in games that they're clearly going to win, or they're clearly favored on, and you saw that last week. And he can really rack up the yards because they play it kind of safe, and they go with those two guys. They look for Higbee, but last week it was all about Everett. So he'll have those games. You kind of expect him to have those games when they have an advantage like that. I don't know if I trust him versus the 49ers defense.
Who has not really been the 49ers defense as of late.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, we talked about Irv Smith last week, and we saw Irv Smith kind of pop a little bit. And against the Falcons defense, he could pop a little more this week. or you could see somebody like a Trey Burton. Trey Burton has been somebody that Rivers had really good chemistry during the preseason with, or whatever the preseason was. And then he got hurt, but now he's back and Mo Alley Cox is out. So I like that chemistry still there with Trey Burton, and today might be a good Trey Burton day.
You mentioned my two DFS flyer guys, like Irv Smith and Trey Burton are guys I'm rolling in a lot of DraftKings lineups. I think Irv Smith, from just a raw talent, is one of the best in the league. I'm a little befuddled by the lack of use of him, but I like both of those names.
Okay, Trey Burton it is. That's who I'm picking up.
There you go. I think actually Burton's got a nice floor ceiling combo too this week. I think.
Okay.
Really nice.
I got one for you guys. So I have one where I got Locke, I got Big Ben, and then I got Minshew. And I got to start one of those guys this week. I also have Dalton. So I've got those 4 guys. It's a dynasty, really deep league. So I have lots of spots. So what do you guys think about who of those 4? I mean, for me, it's kind of a coin flip on a bunch of those.
You're talking about starting them this week.
Starting them this week. Yeah.
To me, I think that's a Ben Minshew coin flip. Not that I'm a huge Minshew fan or anything like that. It's just they've got the Lions. The Lions will be able to score in them. That game will keep going and throwing. He's got a lot of weapons around him. Ben's probably a little safer, and Ben does go off on occasion.
Yeah.
And he's got his weapons. So I don't know. I got a coin flip right there. What about you?
Yeah, that's tight there. I'm not a big Minshew guy either. I kind of like Andy Dalton though down there in Dallas. I mean, if he was ever going to succeed, he has got no excuse now with those weapons. And him throwing 100 yards in the fourth quarter last week. I mean, that's kind of impressive. I mean, you got Lamb, you got Gallup, you got Cooper, you've got Ezekiel, Tony Pollard. I mean, I like their matchup too. So, I mean, it'd be hard for me to run from him right now this week.
I'm a Dalton apologist, actually, to some extent, and I do think he's set up to succeed. My only concern with him is like I can't overstate enough like how banged up the Cowboys O-line is, and Dalton is not Dak when it comes to mobility, and I could see them just feeding Zeke and even spelling it with Pollard and keeping things tight. And so will Dalton get the opportunities and the time to get to those wide receivers? But I definitely could see it.
Right. And I love Tony Pollard. I wished he would get more playing time, but I get it. Playing behind Zeke, you're not going to get a whole lot. But
yep. It's a pretty running back rich league right now. Like there's a lot of good backups who could be starters elsewhere. Yeah. Where were we? And low light. So here's it's a little embarrassment of riches question. Okay. In my I've got this wide receiver pool. I can start 3 of them, and I think I know where I'm going. But I've got Odell, AJ Brown, Allen Robinson, Hollywood, and Julio.
Jeez.
Wow.
That team's up. If I told you the running backs, I've got Lamar and Watson on that same team, and I've got Henry and Cook and CEH and Mixon and James Robinson on that team. That's what I said last week. I said that team either wins a championship or I just cry. Like there's no in between.
Wow.
Yeah, that's 18 years of a dynasty league building to that moment.
Man, that's nice work.
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh man, that's great. That's
that was just me. I just took a bragging moment. I was just like, "Hey, everybody, let me brag about my best team."
That's unreal.
I think I would too with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Allen Robinson. For me, just because of how funneled that offense is, like I feel like I have him in my top 5 for this week, and I just feel like he is going to be
even with Carolina.
Yeah.
Even with Carolina, because I mean, if this think that Allen Robinson's they're just feeding him. It's like 12, 13, 14 targets, and he just never gets enough targets. And I really like him. I like Julio Jones. I just don't know what he's going to do this week.
Yeah, he's going to be spooked.
Right.
So, but he's another guy. I got like top 15. I really like. Oh man, that team is just crazy. I'm still thinking about all those players that you have on that team, man.
It's like an entire first round.
Yeah, my league hates me.
Oh, dude. That's like a league where you're just like quit. You're just like forget it. And
well, it's funny. At some point I'm gonna write this article. I've been meaning to do it forever. I just haven't had any time. But for the site, which is just like the art of selling high. Like that is, I think, you got to know your strengths and weaknesses as a dynasty player. My strength is I'm really good at sniffing out the guy who's playing at an absolute peak and it isn't going to last. And I tend to be able to flip those guys and accumulate those picks. And I've just, I've been with that league for years. And so I kind of know, you start to know what the guys in your league like, who they prefer, who you go to with those offers, and you just turn them into futures and just stack it,
Yeah, I'd love to see that article because that's fantastic, man. Yeah. I mean, that's an all-star team.
So I actually think of that list, AJ Brown actually feels like the smash button of that group for me this week. Where do you have AJ Brown this week, Steve?
I got him 11th overall, and I got him just a tick below Scary Terry. But I mean, he hasn't missed a beat. Like I expected him to kind of have a blah game last week, and he just came back and just was a monster. So I mean, he's just ready to go, and I think that's. Yeah, I mean, it's a great play in DFS. I think to pair him with Tannehill.
DraftKings mispriced him.
Yeah.
Like they just mispriced him. Like I don't know how you put out a lineup without AJ Brown and DraftKings this week.
Yeah,
so I think he's at 56 or something.
Oh, I definitely got to pick y'all's brains about this stuff. It's so interesting to me. So
yeah, the daily fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's just if you're somebody who goes into your fantasy season, it's like I don't really play redraft anymore, right?
Right.
It's all dynasty for me. So if you're somebody who loves the draft, you get to draft every week pretty much, and think like a GM. It's fun that way as long as you are somebody who knows how to manage your bankroll and understands there's a lot of sharks swimming,
Yeah.
But no, we should get into some more DFS content. So gents, unless there's anything anybody wants to get to, questions seem to have slowed up a little bit here, and maybe we'll just give everybody a little more time to set their lineups. Anybody else got any last points they want to make on week 6?
No, I wanted to talk a little bit about Cam.
Oh yeah,
because we see Cam, and he's got a pretty good matchup, I think, this week. And I think what we're seeing from Cam is like he's almost like a poor man's Lamar Jackson. He's almost like Lamar Miller. Geez,
he's a rich Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. So like when we're talking like DFS, he's priced like $1,000 or so below Lamar Jackson, and he does like they're putting the same kind of. We're going to go back to props where they're putting those same kind of prop bets that they put on Lamar on Cam. And so I think he's just a really good, he's a good like buy low candidate because he can do it all by himself. And he can have like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yep, he sure can.
And so that kind of guy is valuable, in a redraft league. And I don't know what's going to happen for him long term, but it feels like this is like the end of like a buy low moment because he's gonna either be with the Patriots long term and they're gonna pony up, or they're just gonna use them. But I think that he looks like he's back and he's on it. If the right team gets him, or if he stays on the Patriots, I think that he's gonna just be a monster for a while. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on him, but I think that I've seen what I wanted to see from Cam about like as long as he stays healthy, I think he's there.
And how different does that Patriots offense look with him compared to what it's been for years with Tom Brady? I mean, you've never seen Tom Brady do the read options where he keeps it and runs around the end for touchdowns. I mean, you're just not used to seeing that. But I like it. I'm like you. From what I've seen, I like Cam in New England. I think it's different. And I think it's actually helped them because it gives, because like I just said, for years, you knew what New England was doing with Brady, and now this is a complete flip-flop. You're not used to this, so you're trying to prepare, even though you know what Cam does and is. He's never been with Belichick before until now, so that's a whole other level to it. So,
and Belichick wants to prove he can win in a different way. He wants.
And I think long as Cam don't do something boneheadish and get himself in trouble, I think he stays there for a while.
Yeah.
If they put the pieces around him, I think that could be a really nice team. I mean, he's got like kind of a washed up Edelman, Edelman kind of on the edge right now.
They need offensive pieces bad.
Yeah. I like Juju. I think that the Steelers won't sign Juju long term.
How you thinking? No, they definitely will not. Juju's gone. Yeah.
And so that could be a nice piece. Yeah.
That's a real good call. That's a good call. So I like that you brought up Cam. I want to bring up a few things, touches on a few different things. First, at first I thought you were talking about like right now this week, and I think what's interesting is, and I don't know how everybody feels, this is just me. Just COVID based, I tend to be not even looking at the Pats games right now. Like it's just I don't want to rely on it. I don't know what it's going to look like. Things are getting bumped, etc. There's still new cases coming out. But that might further reinforce your long-term point, which is it might further drive that buy low moment. Because I agree, he's looked fantastic. And I know what you're saying, Hollywood, about the bonehead moment, but I really think like that's been a really overstated part of Cam's career. I think for the most part, Cam's gotten a little bit of an unfair rap compared to a lot of guys in the league. And I can't find like major transgressions with him. And if he's in that Patriot system, and how Belichick's keeping that all buttoned up and everything like that, that tells me he can be a leader there. And reports have been going. So I think that's a really sharp play, seeing if you can buy in on Cam. Because a couple of years ago we were talking about him as the top 5 guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a fantastic place to wrap up. That's a real gem right there. We wish everybody good luck. Get those lineups in. If you had a question, you didn't get it on the board, or you come to us a little bit later, you can find us all on Twitter. Hit us up. We're happy to help you out in whatever way we can. Good luck, everybody. See you next week.
Bye, guys.